New ways all of you can interact with each other, and the list
Hello!
goes on. I'll be creating more ways as well for the community to meet new friends and Monster Cat family in person at shows. Alright, let's get right into this mix. First up, here
one of
is
these
Metro
days,
Fun.
right? Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Hi, Melon. Are you ready for this? Are you ready to rock? Turn down the music a little. There we go. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I get to finally show you guys this. So I am recording, and the idea is that I can take snippets from what I end up doing here in the full recording and like edit it out so that I can put a compiled, compressed version of the drafting process to my YouTube channel, which hasn't been updated in so long, and I'm sorry. It's been so busy. We're making a blouse, you guys. We're gonna draft this blouse. I'm super excited. And I have a thing going right now, so if you're talking to me on YouTube, and theoretically I think it also works for Facebook, question mark, I'm actually tuned into the restream, because I restream the Twitch channel to Facebook and to YouTube at the same time, and everybody who talks to me from those different places should be able to all talk to me on this one restream channel. So we'll see if this works. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Okay, we're gonna turn that down just a little bit more. Alright, are you ready to rock? I said, are you ready to rock? I'm gonna get my paper. Well, bam! There we go. So I may have mentioned this in my tools that I use for things like pattern drafting from the Otomino Sewing books. I get my paper from Staples. Let me show you what it looks like. I have currently 3 rolls. I hoard this stuff, so I don't ever want to run out of it. So I get my paper from Staples. It looks like this. You will see right here the label. It costs $6.99 for a roll. I think it's 52 feet. You get 52 feet of nice 30-inch wide paper. I use this for all of my pattern drafting. In class, when I was going to school for fashion design, we would have 60-inch wide paper. 30-inch is perfect for our purposes here. So when I found 30-inch paper at 52 feet long for $6.99, I just grab up like 4 at a time because I'm crazy like that. Also, I decided that I hated tracing the patterns from these giant books, which you see here. This is from number 8. And I know these books are like a little confusing to people who are not used to how these work. We're not supposed to cut these out. I actually ended up getting, when I first started using the Otomino Sewing books, I bought like 3 or 4 rolls of tracing paper. It's Alvin brand tracing paper, which I still have. I think 1 unopened roll of tracing paper. You'd lay the tracing paper down and you would find the pieces that you wanted to trace. It's also a 30-inch wide roll of paper, so it's the same. Except I don't know if you can really trace. You sort of can. You can sort of see it. It's not the same as tracing paper though. So this is more for drafting from scratch, which you can make anything from these Otomino Sewing books, just drafting it using the diagrams that they have available. But when you're tracing from these pattern pages and the Goth-Lolly Gosudori, the Goth-Lolly pattern books also have the same format as well as the Gothic Lolita Bibles that unfortunately are no longer in print. I think they ended with number 63. But the patterns that came in those are all like jumbled up together like this, and you would just find the pieces of the garment that you wanted to make, and you would trace just those pieces. In the in the Gothic Lolita Bibles, they had seam allowance included. In the Gosudori, Goth Lolly, or the Otome no Sewing books, they do not have seam allowance included in the pieces that you're tracing. So you would trace your piece and then you would add the seam allowance yourself, and it would give you specifications of what seam allowance to add to where. Typically, the standard seam allowance in these books is 1 centimeter. Unless it's otherwise specified. Like if there's a zipper going in, it might be 1.5 centimeters, or a special kind of seam that requires 2 centimeters. In any case, you would have to trace it, and then your tracing, your pattern traced onto the tracing paper would be your pattern that you cut out. You don't cut this. And why would you want to? It's like it has everything in there. In any case, here we are. We are gonna do this. You can trace them in highlighter. Oh, that's interesting. Hi, AZA Studio. Hello. Welcome. There was a conversation that we were having on the Discord channel, the Discord server, regarding that little beret. I don't think it's on here. This is different. This is a bonnet. Anyway, which one was it? I think it was number 9. We were talking about that long dress that uses the Dorothy of Oz as a base, and it also includes a little hat pattern. And then I scanned the instructions for that, and when I looked into it, I realized that the little hat was not something that you could just draft. It was only available on this pattern piece. So, I'm sorry guys, but I guess I'm gonna have to like digitize it, take a picture of this straight down the way it's looking right now, and then share it somehow that way. I can digitize patterns. It is something that I can do, especially when the camera is hanging straight down the way that it is onto my pattern table. I'll be able to take a pretty clear picture of that and then use the specifications that I know are that pattern, and just translate that into something like Adobe Illustrator, which I use to digitize patterns like this. Anyway, I go on. I'm sorry. I digress. We're going to be we're going to be drafting our blouse pattern. And if you are not in the know just yet, the instructions are included in the class materials of our Discord server. So if you have not joined the Discord server just yet, I encourage you wholeheartedly to do so now, so that you can also follow along with the instructions that we are about to go over. So, putting that aside, we don't need this right now because I got a pretty full roll of pattern paper right here. Oh. Would you rather do a different blouse? Like, I mean, I've done many blouses from the Otome no Sewing book. So, no, actually, the number 8, Otome no Sewing number 8 blouse, it's on page 70. No, excuse me. That is not correct. The instructions for the blouse that we are about to do is on page 68. I mean, this blouse is fine. It's a long sleeve blouse. We're going into fall. You might as well make yourself a long sleeve blouse. Why not? So, we're going to need our pattern drafting rulers. We are going to need a marking pen. When we are doing this, we should probably use something that has a very fine point. I have used Sharpies, like the fine point Sharpies in the past, and that still leaves, that gives you about 1/8 of an inch of a line that you have to deal with and compensate for. So in order to circumvent this issue of adding 1/8 of an inch on every pattern piece that you make and having to compensate, we're going to use ballpoint pen, or ultra fine Sharpies are fine as well. So I do have these. Okay. What a bunch of pens. You can also use these ultra fine point Sharpies as well. So I try to do the main pattern first, and then when I add a seam allowance, I'll do it in a different color just to be able to see it better. So let's see, I think the camera is kind of like, okay, so we start like right here. I'm just like trying to gain where my camera ends. So like right here to about the end, okay. What your field of view is going to be. So make sure we got a nice clear shot. But also, I am recording this for future progeny, if so be it. So I'm going to change the camera angle in a minute here. Hey, Mint! Hello! Hello, everybody! Alright, we're going to do wide shot. Here's the wide shot of the table. So, this is what we're doing. If you can see it, great. One of these days I'll get a better camera, but for now, I'm going to just do my best. If it turns out that I need to use a Sharpie so that you can see the lines, then I'll just do that. But just remember that we need to use a fine point, like a ballpoint pen, or an ultra fine point Sharpie. Usually when I'm starting these two, I'll use a pencil and then I'll go over it again with something a little bit clearer to see. Alright, let's get some pattern weights. I love this box. I got this in Tokyo Disneyland. It's a little bit worn now and it had cookies in it, but I use it for my my pattern weights. And here's what's called a bodkin. This is for drawing your elastic through a channel. Woo! Here we go. There it is. You ever wonder what these were called? It's called a bodkin. Hello, Mint, and hello, AZA Studio. Welcome to the first class. So let's see here. Stop it there. I am going to cut off this piece of paper to about the right length that I need. Does everybody have their class materials so that they can follow along with the pattern? Well, yeah, if the channel is really, really small for a bodkin, then you can always just use the good old safety pin. Alright. I'm going to put this over here for now so you guys can see what I'm looking at. I'm going to cut off a ridiculous amount of paper. Ah. There we go. Now, I'm not going to do it right now, but you can iron the paper so that it stops, you know, rolling up on you. Yeah, well, it's a follow along kind of just to understand what I'm looking at, what you're looking at. I added the diagrams here that I'm going to be going over to the Discord channel. So if you want to be able to see this a little better, I would just refer to the diagrams. But for now, I'm going to have this on the side and I'm going to start drafting this pattern. So, what I like to start with, I'll just go from right to left. It doesn't matter. You can start with either one. You see all these numbers. There's so many numbers. Let's see. Ooh, let's hope I don't fuck it up. I'm going to start with a long line. That's pretty much how I start every pattern. I start with a huge long line. Since this is an L square ruler, by the way, this is a hip curve ruler, and this is an armhole ruler. Okay? So the L square is what I start with usually every time. It's already squared away down at the bottom, so we'll use this as a baseline. We're going to use this, just keeping it straight, like this. I don't measure anything. I make a line that I can see. And then we're just going to take these little chunks and measure up in increments. I have my metric graph ruler. I also have one in English, but the metric is what we use because everything is in metric in these books. Yes, get a ruler. I think I added a link to where you could find a ruler like this. You should be able to get one. Uh-oh. Did I lose signal? No, we're good. Woo! Alright. So I go starting down. So we're going to go up like this. Starting at the bottom of the right-hand side, this is going to be the front of the blouse right here. So you can see that in the diagram. Oh my god, why is it telling me that I need to restart? I don't want to restart right now! Leave me alone! Hi, Mint! Yes, be sure to look over your class materials! This is an official class. So, I gained a little weight recently. You know, it happens. I get older. I gain a little weight. It's okay. I'm going to go with the large size because I want to be able to wear this blouse. So the large size is always denoted by the largest number in this little clump of 3 that you see in every single measurement. So I'm going to go with the 15.8 here, right at the bottom corner of the front of the blouse. 15.8. Let's see, where do we start? 15.8. Metric is so much easier.
Specifically asked for this song to be put here this week. I'm a huge fan of Eptic.
There's 15.8 is right here.
Hope you enjoy.
So, right here. From this line, we're going to go 18.5. This is 18.5. From this line that we just put at 18.5, we're going to go up again. 22. Right here. That's going to be the bottom of the neckline at the center front. So this whole line right here is the center front of the blouse. Pretty long blouse, actually. I'm very impressed. Okay. Oh, excuse me. This is not the bottom of the neckline. That's going to be our top, where our shoulder meets. Can you see it on the diagram? What are the sizes, the measurements? I have no idea about the ones in the book. So, okay, let me go over this really quick. There's 3 sizes included in all the books. It's small, medium, and large. And there's a graph here that shows you what your measurements are. In this book, it's on page 66. So basically, for the large size, this is, let's see, waist is here, bust is here, or is this hip? Wait, hip boob, okay. Waist, bust, and hip. Those are the first 3 measurements in this graph, and that's usually what they use for the sizes here. So you would be given a recommendation of how much yardage to get for your piece that you are drafting, depending on the size that you choose. You cannot mix these sizes, you can't mix these numbers. If you're going to make a large size, make sure you stick with the large size measurement on each of these pieces. Okay? So if you want to find out what size would fit you when you're drafting one of these patterns, you can look here on the graph, and each of these books have this same graph. And the first three are your waist, bust, and hip measurement. And the rest is stuff I can't read because it's a lot of kanji and I haven't really memorized that yet. So I hope that helps a little bit. Now we will continue. So this was our 22 centimeter measurement. So we went from the bottom corner right here, 15.8, 18.5, and then 22. From here, if you look on the diagram, this point goes straight across. So we're going to square this across. We can use the graph ruler to do this, so you're going to see my head in a minute. Hang on. I'm not measuring again. This is not a measurement. I'm just making myself a nice line to use. So I'm building a scaffolding. I've said this before in other videos. This is me building a scaffold because all of these patterns are using just a whole bunch of straight lines that you sort of adjust in between. So, now that we have this nice long straight squared off line from our top point that we just finished, it has two more measurements going this way. We're going to go 7.8 and then we're going to go 9.5. So we're going to measure 7.8. Right here, and then 9.5. Here. Okay? So at this point, this is the top of the shoulder. Actually, this is technically the top of the shoulder. This is the neckline shoulder, where the neckline and the shoulder meet. So let's just keep going around first, and then we're going to fill in the bits where, like, the curve of the neckline, the curve of the armhole, the dart that comes in the middle, and then there's a dart here that we're actually going to modify. So there's a trick to doing that dart. If you see it, the side dart that goes to the bust line, there's a little trick there. So first of all, we're just going to keep going around. So at this point, the end point here, where it was 9.5, we're going to square down again. It's a lot of squares. We're so square, man. So we're going to square down 3 centimeters. So 1, 2, 3, that's going to be here. Okay? That's how we get the slope of the shoulder. Then this is going to be the top of the shoulder. And how do we get the width then of the blouse? Well, there's more measurements to do. Squaring across again. It's all our baseline is squares. So from this point, we're going to go across, and it has that right in the middle here at the bottom of the armhole to the center front here. It says 24.5. Do you guys see that? Again, I am recording this. It's going to be on Twitch, but I'm going to try to record this and then edit this so that it's going to be a little bit more comprehensive. So for now, we're going to go 24.5, and we're squaring that across. Also, when I'm using this graph ruler, when I square something, because I can see through the graph. That's the whole point of having this ruler. I line up the bottom line and the bottom line here and the top line here. I have my measurement of 24.5. I have it lined up with my center front line, so I know that this is going to be square. It's not like deviating a little bit. It's lined up completely with that straight line. So this ends right here, and this is 24.5 centimeters. Okay? So if you'll notice, we have this long straight line that comes, it's a diagonal line, from this measurement at the top of the shoulder to the bottom of the armhole. And it has this part of the scaffolding that kind of goes diagonal, but that is not the armhole. We're going to take this bit in a minute, we're going to separate this line into 3 sections, and those points that we have also some different measurements, and that's the depth of the armhole that we're going to be using when we bring out our armhole ruler to smooth out. So it's going to tell us how deep to make this curve. And we'll get to that in a minute. For now, we're going to keep going with our straight lines all the way around. So you might notice too that this line that we just made all the way across, this is going to be the bust line basically, since this is the bottom of the armhole and the bust goes straight across to the center front. At this point, it's all straight, so we're just going to do the same measurement of 24.5, and we're going to bring that down to this point as well. So just the same thing, we're going to square that up with our graph ruler, square it across this way, and that's our point. So this is a straight line, it's mirroring this measurement, and we're going to do the same. We're going to connect these dots right here, since on this side of the diagram it goes straight down. We're making our box. All of these patterns just start with a box. Squaring that up, making sure it all matches up and is relatively straight. We have our box. This is the beginning of the blouse. Did I lose anyone yet? Okay. So, in the diagram, by the way, if you're just joining us and you can't see what I'm looking at here very clearly, you can join the Discord, and it's under class materials. You will see a scan of this diagram that we are following right now. So please join the Discord if you want to find the class materials there, and you can follow along with all the measurements that I'm doing in high definition. All right. So now, see, I'm taking this in chunks at a time. There's a lot of numbers on this diagram. I'm ignoring some of them for now because I want to just build from the outside in. So for now, we have our box, we have our width, we have the armhole, the slope of the shoulder. We're going to get to the neckline in a minute. Right now I'm focusing on this side seam for the blouse. Okay? So it says, for this line right here, it comes in 1 centimeter. That's what that 1 is right here on this diagram. Comes in 1 centimeter. Okay, easy enough. We're going to come in 1 centimeter. Now, let's see what it says here. On the bottom, it goes out 1.1 centimeters, which doesn't seem like much, I know, but if you put like 8 millimeters together, that's almost a whole centimeter. So we just put 1.1 on the very bottom hem of the blouse. We went in 1 centimeter on this. This is going to be the waistline right here. That's why it's coming in the way that it is. Just to give it some more shape, I'm going to come to the bottom of the armhole measurement, and I'm going to join these lines like this, and then to the one on the outside like this. Now you can start to see that we have the shaping happening here, since this is the waist and this is the hip line. you can definitely modify these patterns. There's a great channel, oh, what is her name? Diane Denziel, I think, and I actually followed her tutorial on how to grade patterns. There is a formula that you can follow how to grade a pattern, which I'm not going to get into right now. We're just going to be drafting this blouse for now. But there is like different points, there's cardinal points on a pattern, and those cardinal points have specifications for grading up a size. And you just add to it in however many increments you need to get to that size. Okay, so we did our side seam. Alright, let's have a little fun here. We're going to do our neckline. This is the top of the shoulder where the neckline and the shoulder meet. And it says here that from this point it goes down 8.7 for our large size. So we're going to measure down 8.7. Right there. And we're going to make our diagonal line. We're going to add the curves later. There we go. So this is going to be our neckline. This is going to be our armhole. It's going to get a little tricky when we're putting in our princess seam, but it just takes a little bit of finagling about it. All right. So now that we have our side seam here, we're going to measure down 2.5 centimeters here. Going straight across, we're adding, that's going to be the top of the dart. When I cut this out, we're going to cut this out, and we're going to move this so that it closes the dart and shapes the side piece a little bit better to fit a 3D form. The dart itself is 2 centimeters wide. So that's going to be here. We're going to use, let's see, can't really use that. So after a minute, we're going to be adding our point here for the princess line. And that's the point that we're going to be adding this bottom line of the dart to. And that's also where we're going to be doing our dart, our fisheye dart here. It's not actually going to be a dart. This is going to be 2 separate pieces that we then separate by tracing with our tracing wheel. So yeah, you just have to add to the waist and the hips a bit. Yeah, that's not going to be an issue to do. Sometimes what you can do too is you can slash and spread it, but that's going to be a whole nother tutorial. All right. Okay, so this is the waistline, remember? We're going to open up this bit right here, where it has what looks like a fisheye dart, but it's not actually a fisheye dart. It says, from this point, this way, it's 9.6. 9.6. 9.6, which is like this. 9.6. That's going to be the beginning. This dart here in the middle is open 2.5 wide. So we're measuring 2.5. So now we have our shaping going even further with 2.5 on either side. This is a 2.5 width. Okay. Dooby-doo and dooby-dooby-doo. We're going to do this. Need to study this a little bit. Choo-choo, coo-coo-coo-choo. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's confusing. These can be confusing, I'm not gonna lie. So, here's what I'm determining. Because it uses all these straight lines to use as a baseline, like anchor points. We know that this is 2.5. Well, if we cut that in half, what's the center of 2.5? It's going to be like 1.25, something like that. So let's do 1.2, 1.3. Yeah, that looks like a center. All right, we're finding the center of the dart to use as our guideline. And I'm going to square down. Whoop. Cool. We just found our point where this dart meets. Ta-da! Now finding the bit at the top, that's going to be a little more challenging. Let's see, it doesn't tell me how long this dart is. It doesn't show me that it uses a line going this way to find your orientation. Yep. So let's see. It does tell me. Let's see now. What does it tell me? Yep. So this particular blouse pattern only has one section that we have as our guide. Usually what we do in these books is it divides this line into 3 sections, and the points where those sections meet, so you would have 2 sections coming this way, would be in different lengths that would give you the depth of the armhole. In this one, however, it only has the 1, but it does tell you how far up to go to get to that point and then measure this way. So it's telling me here, we're going to go up 7.8 centimeters. Let's see, 7.8 centimeters. Right here. And then at this point, we're going to square down. It's going to be squared away right here. And it's telling me that the length of this line is going to be 5.2. Again, we're doing the large size. So let's get 5.2, which is right here. All right. That's going to be the depth of our armhole. So let's see what this looks like when we try to find. We're going to match up this point here to the one that we just put down. There. So that's our armhole, I guess. There's a section here that's telling me it's 6.2. So 6.2, sorry, yes, 6.2 centimeters down from the top shoulder. Is apparently something, which I can't read right now, but I'll have to translate it after a while. Right? Doesn't that look good? Oh, hey, let's do the neckline while we're at it. Oh, gosh. Okay. The depth of the neckline, it doesn't have the same line here, but it's telling me 2, which means 2 centimeters is the depth of the neckline. Usually what I do when I am trying to put a curve on something, the ends, especially on the center front, because imagine, if you will, if it were on a fold, which this won't be because it's open on the front, But if it were, you want to have a little section, something like a centimeter or a half an inch, that's going to be completely squared and flat. And the reason for that is that when you are cutting it on a fold, you don't want a divot there. So it's not going to be deviated by some weird shape. It's going to be straight across, and then you're going to have a nice little plane. So usually when I make something like a curve like that, I'll put a tiny little straight line, and the end of that line is going to be where my curve kind of ends. So anywhere within that margin of error, I'm going to have a nice straight line going across if I were cutting it on a fold. And that's actually pretty standard when you're drafting a pattern in Lolita or in whatever. So let's see, if I were going to make this depth 2 centimeters, now wait a minute here, what is this? What is this? There is a little section, it's indicating here, this curve, with a circle. And that circle is like a symbol that's supposed to refer me to something. What are you referring me to, book? Oh, book of answers. I see. Okay, it's for afterward. It's when we're drafting the neckband for the collar. Basically, in short, when you're drafting a collar, you take after it's curved and drafted and everything, you take that measurement, and that's going to be the front neckline measurement, and then you take the back neckline measurement, you put those together to draft your collar. There is a way to do that. So that's what it's indicating here, is like this measurement is going to be open circle, and the back neckline measurement is going to be the closed circle. And you put those together to draft the collar pattern, which is indicated here on the pattern. Aha! All right, so still, we need to figure out 2 centimeters. So something I have done that sometimes works is if this is going to be 2 centimeters of depth, and I have this metric graph ruler, I know that this right here is the depth that I need for the neckline. Now let's see how well we get this. So I can move this until it fits with this point and this point. So that looks pretty good. There we go. There's our neckline. So I just made like a pretty wide guideline, and I could like work within that margin of error to get the neckline that I needed. So this still does not help me. I'm hoping that maybe this section here, measured at 2.3, this is going to be the end of the princess line. Let's see what happens when I measure at 2.3. Let's see where it lands. 2.3. Okay, yeah, that looks about right. Sure. This is where our hip curve ruler might come into play here. So this is going to be our end point for our princess line. We want to match it up somehow with this curvature, the fisheye dart that we're doing. So let's see what it looks like. I'm going to do this in pencil because I'm afraid of messing up terribly. Let's see, pencil. Sure, okay. So you won't be able to see this very well, but let's see what it looks like. Yeah, I don't know. I really wish it told me how wide this is supposed to be. Hello. curiosity. What happens when I follow this line up and make just a nice straight line? Can I use that as a guideline? Let's see. Yeah, it's probably too light for you guys to see, but let's see what happens. So if we did that, with this point here, a little straighter. Interesting. Well, it's a puzzle. Alright, guys, I'm gonna have to be right back because reasons. I will be right back, I promise. So I'm just gonna do this one. Alright, be right back, guys. Promise. Phew. Alright. So, how's everybody doing so far? Are we able to follow along? This always throws me off. So, I have an idea. And I also have erasers. See, I'm doing this right now in pen, which I'm actually not sure. Can you tell me if you can see that okay? I did bring down the brightness so that it's not so washed out. So let me know if you can see this. If you're drafting this yourself though, always use pencil. It's just in case you make mistakes like what I'm doing. So I'm using pencil right now because I'm trying to find the right placement of this shaping right here. So you can see that right there. So let's see, I literally just had my little box. Ah, there it is. This is my my box that I use for D&D, full of pencils, but it works for everything. I have this idea, or maybe, just maybe, I can find just the exact center of the measurement of the bust line. I'm going to find the center of this, and the center might very well be the place where this dart ends. Let's find out. Oh, hey, a mechanical pencil. There's an idea. Let's use a 7mm. Yeah, this one is going to work fine. I'm going to leave that guy out. Also those. Okay, here we go. You guys still with me? Let's see. Let's see what we can do here. So, if this measurement is 24 and a half, I need my, because I'm a dumb, I am the dumb. I mean, if we just divide it in half, it's 12 and a quarter, or 12.25. Okay. Let's see what that looks like when we put that here. 12.25, so it's going to be kind of like right there. I don't know. If we bring it down to, because this is going to curve up anyway. 12.25 you say? Yeah, maybe. I don't know, maybe. Let's see here. Stick with me, guys. These instructions aren't even clear-cut for me, so I just happen to know mostly how to do them. Let's see. That just looks too far. Oh, that just looks too far over if I do it here. Nope, that's not going to give me the shape that I want at all. So, there goes that idea. Oh, you, Otome no sewing. So, no. This might be a case where I just have to wing it and make sure that this shape fits a bust line the way that I need it to. So if I did cut it in half here at the bust line and followed the curve meeting this guy right here, there's a lot of straight lines in the diagram, but we are not made of straight lines. So what happens if I just do this, and then from here and then just kind of shape this a little bit slopier. No, because it's no, that's the wrong place. That is the wrong place. The end of this dart is where this meets, so it would be here. So if we did just a straight line where this connected, it would look like that.
Thank you, everyone, so
No,
much for tuning in
still
this
not
week for my
right.
spot on Call of the Wild. I hope to see as many of you as possible at the Monster Cat Compound VR pre-party on August 24th at live.monstercat.com. If you're still not sure where to register,
You guys.
stop by the Monster Cat Discord server and I can point you in the right direction.
Yep, this is where Otome no sewing fails a little bit.
Thank you, Dylan, for hosting today's episode.
But I suppose it leaves it open for interpretation.
If you want to chat more with him, just head over to Discord and say hi.
looks like the center is just straight up, then a bit to the right. It does, doesn't it? See, that's what I thought too. So, I did this before, the center of this dart, doing this in pencil, like this. And then just a bit to the right. Almost a straight line. From here to where it meets the end of the dart, it's almost a straight line. It's so subtle. So what if I went, let's see. This is straight. So this is the straight line. So if I move this, maybe to the middle, what would that look like? Let's find out. Points. Let's see. So here. Okay. And then here. So now we have our point there. Here, I'm going to switch to my pen. I think I'm just going to go for it. I think I'm just going to go for it at this point. So I want this curve to meet up here. Let's see. Woo! That's too curvy. I just want to fix this point. Do this. Okay. Something like this. It's not perfect, but it's mine. Sure. It's gonna get cut anyway. So now that we have this point, so basically what I did was I created a straight line from this point of the dart up where it met the straight line going across for the dart. Since it doesn't have a measurement, I just made a guideline here. And I also created a straight line going up from the middle of the dart, and I used the point in between this right here to find the point that it's going to intersect. So this is also eventually going to be our notch as well. So we pre-measured the 2 centimeters wide of the dart itself, and we're going to put that right there. And then this is going to be cut and this moved up. I mean, what are you going to do, right? So, that being said, I mean, I guess that's it. I guess that's it. Oh, what's this? What are these numbers telling me? Hang on. I have a thing for this. Translator, translate for me. Do and doobie-doo.
Gerald is presenting the quarterly budget report with Finger Puppets.
Continue.
Here comes a 1.7% decrease in fixed
Okay.
overhead. Hello, everybody.
No, I can't believe how easy it was to save hundreds of dollars on my
Buttonhole.
insurance with Geico.
Button.
Projected increase in organic
Sekaiba.
Hooray!
Cool. Alright, so that's the buttonholes.
Geico could save you 15% or more on
The
car insurance.
distance between the buttonholes. Good to know. Neat. Alright, we're not quite done. We still have our center placket to do. The opening here. It's not too hard. We just need to make it, let's see, it's going to be it's going to be a 2 centimeter wide placket. So we're going like so, here and here, all the way down. We're just going to measure a centimeter on either side of the center line, here and here. I'm just using the points that I already have. Oh, did my music stop? Is Monster Cat over? Methinks it is. Let's fix that. Huh. Monster Cat. Let's play something else. Play more Monster Cat. Because apparently I can play Monster Cat and it won't flag me, so that's why I'm playing it. Also, I like Monster Cat, so there you go. Alright, so we're making a 2 centimeter wide. This does not have the seam allowance yet, but it's going to be 2 centimeters wide when it's all finished. So now, after putting in these dots, I'm just going to line them up together. Like so. Okay.
Hey everyone, what's going on? Did you miss
To be fair, when I put in the buttonholes, I kind of determined for myself where I would like the buttonholes to be. But here it's suggesting for the large size 2.8 separation. So starting with the first one, it's 3.5 from the top. Because the band of the collar, the band collar, has a button on it, so down from there it's going to have another one here at 3.5, and that's going to be the center of the button. So now we're going to measure 2.8 since we're doing large size. I mean 7.8, oh my god. I can say things correctly. 7.8. 7.8. 7.8. There. I think that's correct, right? 7.8. Yep. Looks right. Alright. These are gonna be our buttons. I'm just circling them. These are not exact. Alright. Cool. We got things done. So far so good. Looks like we got the front done. So, how do we handle that dart? You guys know how to do this? Have you ever seen this before? So this stuff would typically just be left alone and then transferred onto another piece of paper underneath. And we use the tracing wheel that I may have shown you before. For this particular side piece right here, we need to change the shape so that all of this bottom part kind of closes up right up here. So we're going to meet this line with this line, and we do that by slashing it. And then we're just going to trace around it. So I'm going to cut just that part out. I shouldn't have to cut any more than this. probably should have ironed this paper, but I was in a hurry. I had no time. Just cut this off for now. We don't need this. Okay. Oh, guess what, guys? Yep. I need to bring out my nifty, handy-dandy ironing pad. Fun! So fun! Let's just use this as a bookmark. Oh, iron! Here we go. Right. I should have ironed this before, but whatever. I'm not gonna burn myself this time. I'm sorry. I'm still healing. It was like so minimal when it first happened, and then like it looks so much worse than it really is. It's one of those. It's because Carol is an idiot sometimes. Let's just be real. I don't even think I need my ironing pad for this. I mean, the whole table is covered in paper. The only issue is that I do have this packing tape on there, so I should be careful of that because it'll melt. But that looks a lot better. It's not curling up anymore. Let's see, this guy. Just need to straighten you out. There we go. Nice flat piece of paper. Hooray. Alright, I'm setting this aside. Oh yeah. We're doing stuff. Things are happening over here. Just shaping the armhole now. I'm cutting this out so that I've got a pretty clear shape of this side front piece. Okay, throw that away. Here we go. This fun dart thing. There are a couple ways you can do this. You can cut it out completely, or you can just overlap, removing this up. And here's another trick that I learned. When remember how I may have mentioned never close your scissors all the way when you're cutting through a long line? Well, you can do that just before you hit the point of the dart. I'm cutting that off. So here I have, I'm almost done to the point here, and I'm just keeping it back a little bit so that it's got a little bit of an attachment there, and then we're just meeting this bottom edge to the top one. What do you know? We just closed a dart. I'm gonna tape that together like so. And now we have the new shape of the bus line. And this has a little divot in here, but not to worry. When we are transferring this pattern, we're going to take this point and the waist point and just make a straight line. So it renders this irrelevant. So you don't have to worry about the little divot that happens. So, let's see what happens here. I am going to put that down onto my table. Let's see, where did I, oh, here. I got my nifty little office tool things. Yeah, I go to the office section in Walmart sometimes and I get a little carried away because I like office supplies. I have an unhealthy obsession with office supplies. So I end up buying cutesy things like this and like, oh, I love these colors. It comes with paper clips and binding clips and push pins. I can use that someday. Eventually I figured out, yes, I can use them, especially when I'm drafting patterns like this. So with this all done, I'm just going to go ahead and use the paper that I have here, and I'm going to draft the first pattern out of the, well, I'm going to trace the first pattern out of the piece we drafted. Just pushing that down onto my table. If you're curious and you don't remember why I can do this on my table, it is covered with soundproof insulation that you get at Home Depot or Lowe's or anything like that. And it's super cheap. I think you can get an entire slab of it for $12. They can cut it to your specifications. The table itself is made out of an old industrial door, and the legs are pipes. Of course, it's like $100 worth of pipes, but this thing is never going to break. And if I wanted to, I could just put a brand new like slab of plywood to whatever specifications I want to, and just put a new piece of insulation on top, and then I cover it with the craft paper. Anyway, that's enough of that. So, we're going to trace around this now. I am going to make my points here, the curves. I'll have to shape a little bit. So here, I'll just carefully trace around this area. Well, this actually. What did I just say? I said a thing and I didn't like make good on it? Jesus. There we go. That's the new side piece. So we just completely ignored this. We just matched these 2 points together in a straight line. And then we're gonna trace around the armhole, bottom of the armhole, like that. This is gonna be where our notch goes. So we're gonna meet up the notch. If we wanted to, we can also put a notch here so that we can definitely meet up these 2 points. If we wanted to as well, we could put a notch here so that when we're drafting our backside piece, these are the notches that we're going to be matching up together. Since this is the front part, we just put one notch to indicate that that is the front. So now that that's all traced out, we don't need the piece anymore on top of it. And we're going to add our seam allowance to it after a while. Well, I could just add my seam allowance to it now, and then I can trace out the front bit. I'm using a different color because I can. I'm going to put a 1 centimeter seam allowance all the way around here. measuring just behind the line to compensate for the tip of my pen. When I go around curves, obviously I don't make straight lines, I just dot it. Going? Oh, you're doing laundry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Turns out they have a library class instead. I was like, oh, that
Okay. Any questions so far, guys? I do not blame you. If you have to go, that's no worries. I am recording this, so hopefully, again, I will have something a little bit more concise for someone to watch if they wanted to review. Still trying to figure out my voiceover voice, because I'm not very good at voiceover. It's like, I don't know what to say. I'm better at saying it in the moment. We're going to label our pattern piece here. So this is our first pattern piece. This is going to be the blouse. And my labeling system uses OTS instead of ONS. OTS number 8, page 68. So that's my label. My code, OTS 8-68. This is going to be the large size, and we're going to cut 2 of that pattern. And also that this is the side front. Okay. Awesome. There we go. We got the first piece. So you guys, it's green chili season here in New Mexico, and if you have never been to New Mexico, you probably don't know what that means. Green chili is a staple of New Mexican cuisine. Not quite Mexican, not quite American, but New Mexican. I know, it's confusing, right? But every year when it's harvest time, we have green chili coming out of Hatch, New Mexico. And people buy it in giant bags, and it's usually, you can find it even at Walmart, of all places, here in Albuquerque. You can find it in any grocery store. There will be a giant fire roaster in front of every grocery store or Walmart that you even go to, roasting fresh green chili so that you can save it, freeze it for the rest of the year. And we are currently making green chili stew.
also going to get my red card. I still believe it's checking my card.
Okay. Did I lose anyone? Let's just take a moment here to see what I got. Oh hey, another person! You would like to see piles of chilies? Well, you would see them if you came to New Mexico, that's for sure. There's piles and piles of chili. If you're curious, you can look up green chili season in New Mexico. It's a phenomenon. Alright. So I'm going to just snip this right off. And I'm going to use this part of the paper to trace this out. I think I'll go kind of like this. Now what I've done in school and what I've done in the past is I would use my craft paper, which I also have a ton of, and it's also very, very cheap. I think you can find the craft paper for $4.99 for a roll of 30 feet, and it's also 30 inches wide. But because it's easier to store, I'm using just the same white paper. So I'm going to trace the center front piece, and then once I trace that out, I'm going to move it over, because I still have like all this paper underneath here. I'm going to move it over and I'm going to trace over the placket, because this placket still needs seam allowance, as well as the center front piece of the blouse. So to do that, I'm going to bring out my ponce wheel. And a ponce wheel looks like this. So perhaps you have seen something like this in your travels through Joann's or whatever. This particular one has these spikes on it. And the spikes are important. There's different kinds of tracing wheels. This particular one is a ponce wheel because it has spikes on it, and it transfers those spikes to anything basically underneath. You use this too for transferring your draping. If you're using muslin to create a pattern in a 3D form, and then you take that pattern, you flatten it out, you have all these lines on there, you put a piece of paper underneath the muslin that you just put your design on, and then it goes through the muslin underneath the paper to trace the lines that you put on there. So with this, we're making cross marks because we do have a lot of straight lines here that we don't necessarily need to transfer completely, since the straight lines can be redrawn with a ruler. So we just put cross marks on specific points. When we have a curve like this, we do trace the curve, but we also don't need to trace this shoulder measurement either. So we're just going to put cross marks here. We are going to trace this line of the neckline. As close as we can. We're going to trace the top of the armhole that we did on the front piece here. Okay. Then over here we have another cross mark. This is a straight line, so we put a cross mark here. Now this bit has a curve to it, and we also cut it away so that we could do the side front piece. So I am going to trace the curvature of the princess seam here. And then I'm just gonna, as best as I can, follow the curve that we cut away when we took away the side front piece. So from here and from here, that is where our pieces meet. So now that we have that traced down with the ponce wheel, we just go like this. We have our little pock marks that we just made. And I'm going to use my pen that I can find it. I'm going to match up the two cross marks I made at the center front. There's our center front line. shoulders. And we need to match up the inside of the princess seam. And then I just kind of lightly dot around the curves. We make sure that this has a little bit of a straight plane to go across, like that. Dot around here, kind of lightly following the curve that we traced with the cons wheel. Ah! Carol made a mistake. Let's see if we can fix that. Yep, right here. Alright, this is where our notch is going to be. So when we're meeting up the curves of our princess seam here, this is the notch that we meet up together. Also, there's a way to flatten this out. We're going to cut that away. There. You might have seen this kind of shaping on commercial patterns before. It's just shaping the seam allowance so that it's not out of control. Same here. When it's folded up, it's going to have excess we don't want. So there's the shaping there. Let's see, which other one? I don't think this has too much deviation. Nope, that one's fine. Okay, we have our notch here. Just lightly dot around here. How straight is this? Ooh, it's not too straight, so I'm just gonna dot, 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 slash, dash, dash, dash. I guess it's not so much dotting, it's dashing. Dashing. Alright. And there's our center front piece. So we also need to add seam allowance to it, but center front, blouse. This is OTS 8-68 in a large size, and we're going to cut 2 of these as well. Sounds good? Good. Alright. Now, before I add seam allowance to that, I'm going to go ahead and trace this as well. Doesn't even need to be that far. I have this crazy idea. I'm going to pin this down where the buttons are supposed to go. Got this one oddball pin, push pin. Okay. So we have straight lines. We don't really need to trace those straight lines. I'm just going to go across the bottom and the top. Like so. Cross mark at the corners. Can meet here. Okay, sounds good. And why not? I'm going to cross mark as well at the bust line and the waistline. So, hypothetically, it should be where all of the buttons go, marked now with a little pinprick, where the push pin went. Okay? Match these guys up. It's okay. We're fine. We're fine. Everything's fine. Cool. So this needs a seam allowance. Also, I have a voicemail, I guess.
Alright, that was Mr. Fiji Ouija featuring Johnny Rose. Next up, we're dropping some new house vibes, and this calls for Tony Romera. Teaming up the squad, here is Saint-Tropez. Enjoy the beat.
Alright, so this is now no longer needed. We have our center front, we have our center front placket, and voila, we now just need to add seam allowance. So, technically, this already has seam allowance on it. Since when we drafted this, it was drafted going in by a centimeter, and I used the original center front line. So this is going to be the line where the buttons fall. So methinks I don't need to add seam allowance to this because it kind of already has it on there. Should make it like this. So that there is then the seam allowance. Technically. Alright. No. Oh. Put a centimeter up here. Wow, this green chili stew I'm making smells so good. You guys, you have to try green chili. If you ever come to New Mexico, green chili is the shiznit. Okay. Let's write a little label on here. Center front blouse placket. This is OTS 8-68, and this is a large size. Cut 4. Right, cut 4. 2 on each side. Uh-oh. I will be right back. Hello? Yes? Well, I just got a call from one of my students that I have on my Monday class, and she sounded so sweet. Apparently she had left me a voicemail that she forgot a box full of her sewing supplies that she had just purchased for the class, and I didn't get to the voicemail, so I just answered her call just now, and she sounded so nice. She was saying how nice it was to hear my voice and that she looks forward to class, and it just made me feel so good. That's just the sweetest thing. Like, here I was thinking I would be a terrible teacher, like a real life teacher, but aw, so sweet. Okay. Anyway, back to this. Here we go. We're going back to this now. So I just finished drafting the front part of our blouse. Isn't that fun? That is done. That is done, and we're going to cut this out, and then I guess we have to do the back part of it, and then the collars. There's a band collar and a folded collar. Now, what I used to do before is I would actually take my, the one piece of paper that I drafted this front part with, and I would just do the front and back part drafted without cutting it out on one piece, and then any alterations I did, like closing the dart and stuff, I would do on a separate piece of paper after I had the front and the back done, which you see in like the time-lapse videos that I have already. I didn't do that this time. I was impatient and I just wanted this cut out. Now this guy, I'm pretty sure, like, when I want to put my piece here, yeah, this is going to be folded in. So if I folded this as if this were a seam, that is correct. That's where it's going to fall. So, good. Good. Yes, I did not need to put a seam allowance right here. Technically already had it. Awesome. Awesome sauce. Here we go. Cutting things out now. Oh, damn. That's okay. That's not too bad. Oh gosh, that is not professional, but that's okay. We're going to work with it. So you may have noticed that this particular pattern is a little bit lackluster. I don't know if that's something that you guys realized. But all of these are base patterns, they're basic shapes, so that if you guys wanted to modify the size, the design itself, you can just take these basic shapes and do a little bit of a nip and tuck here, and you can get pin tucks if you want to. You can add a yoke to this if you want to, add ruffles wherever you want, and you are good to go. Have a good
No, I'm just doing stuff.
Okay.
I mean, I'll have a good day anyway.
Okay. My roommate is awesome. She's a really good role player too. We had a really great game of D&D on Sunday, and I am just over the moon about how well it went. It was just super exciting. So, D&D, you guys. I'm just saying. D&D is so fun. Do we have new people on the Discord? Let's check it out. Yeah. Let's make sure that our new peeps have permissions. So AZA, or Azza, I don't know how you want to pronounce that, but I added you as a follower. So if you want to share pictures or files, just let me know and I will add you as a follower plus. Right now the baseline is follower, but if you wanted to do more than that, you just have to have the right permissions for it. I do that just because I have an open invitation to my Discord channel, and I don't want just like randos coming in and posting like stupid gifs or porn or whatever. That's the only reason. That's all. Not that bad. It's looking good though. Check it out, you guys. We got at least 3 pattern pieces for our blouse now. Hooray! So exciting. So let's see, what else do we have to do? I suppose we could just use, we'll have to draft the back part first. I think we can use this part when we're doing our collar. We might even be able to use this, because this is a long sleeve pattern. So we need to draft the sleeve cuffs as well. I'm going to set these aside for now. Here's our 3 pieces that we just drafted. We have the center front placket, we have the center front of the blouse itself, we have the side front of the blouse. Done and ready to go. Now we need more paper! Hooray! How you guys doing? I see some people are dropping off, and I get that. People have stuff to do. You can't always watch like hours and hours of pattern drafting. It's not that exciting. It is when you're doing it. Going to cut quite so big of a piece this time, since we're just drafting the back. Yeah, that looks good. I'm going to need to eat in a minute. Something. I'll need to have my lunch. So perhaps after I finish drafting the back part of the pattern, we will have an intermission. And again, if you're just catching us now, like just joining us, you should probably join our Discord channel so that you can get the class materials, which has the diagrams that I am following here in the Otome no Sewing Book 8. Right, y'all? I scanned a very nice, clean copy for you guys to follow. Hopefully it's not too confusing. The whole point of this is so that I can clear up how to do this. Of course, we did run into a little bit of a snafu when it came to getting that princess theme. Stupid, stupid princess theme. It's really just a matter of what looks good. Oh, hey. I was looking for that. Okay. Cool. Now, where was I? Yeah, it's a little bit of a smaller piece this time because reasons, obviously. Are you guys able to see this okay? Whoever is actually still with us? Because I could make an exception and just use a Sharpie. But I kind of want to keep my measurements as clear as possible for also myself. So this point here. Got that down, right down here. Okay. If 24 inches of a line is not enough, then I guess I'll just have to work with it. In any case, here we're going back to our diagram. And this time we're working on the back part. So the back part, if you look at your diagram that I shared with you guys, we're going to start at the bottom corner that I just created with my L square ruler. We're going to measure up 15.8. We're going to measure up one more time from that point, 16.5. And then we measure up again 24 centimeters. Let's do this. Alright, 15.8, check. 16.5. Alright, 16.5. Let's just, yeah, okay. 16.5. 24. No. 24. 24. Okay. That concludes the center front, or excuse me, center back. And we are squaring across again. Scaffolding. And from this point, 7.8, 9.5. Okay. 7.8, 9.5. Cuckoo, cuckoo. Down 3 centimeters. Shoulder. Okay, then we're going across. This is the bust point, or you know, the center of the middle of the back. 24 and a half, or 24.5. There we go. And we're gonna continue doing that again with the waist seam, the waist measurement, the point. 24.5. Okay, drawing a straight line from here down to here. Also, let's just make sure we got it straight on the very bottom as well. 24.5. Cool, I got a dot here, here, and here. I'm going to match these guys up and get my straight line. Cool. It goes in 1 centimeter at the waist. It goes out 1.1 at the bottom hem. So we're going to go like this. We're going to go like this. down 3 centimeters here to get the slope of our shoulder. Get that a little bit better here. There we go. And from this point to the bottom of the armhole, we got that. For the back of the neckline, it only goes down 2.5 centimeters. Right here. So then we have our diagonal going this way. The depth of this is 1.1. So let's see, what is 1.1? What does that look like? 1.1 is like here. Can I get like a 1.1-ish? Yeah, okay, so if I measured it right on the line and then my pen is like the 1 millimeter. So that's going to be our guideline for the neckline, the back of the neckline. Remember what I said too, this is going to be on the fold. We don't want to divot here in the very center of the back neckline. So we want to straighten that out with a completely squared line. We're going to go in about 1 centimeter. So on the fold, it'll be a 2 centimeter portion of this line, this neckline, that's going to be completely straight. No deviation like this or like this. It's going to be straight. So using this as our guideline, we want to match up the point of the neckline where the neck meets the shoulder to relatively, let's see, it said 1.1 is the depth. Maybe the depth is here. Maybe it's a little bit higher. Let's do it a little bit higher and see what we get if we try to put. Oh, also, we want to turn this around. The curve is going to go up towards the, there we go. That makes more sense. Alright, I'm going to put my pen at this point so that the ruler rubs up against it and won't go past it. So we want to, let's see, something like that. Looks good to me. Really? 1.1 is the depth? Alright. Yeah. Could change it. I don't know if I could change it. Can I change it? No, that should be fine. That's gonna be fine. Back neck. Okay. Huh. We're gonna do the same fisheye dart thing going across this way. We want to go 10.7. Okay. So 10.7 is here. It's going to be a 2.5 centimeter wide fisheye dart. Methinks that perhaps it is at 1 centimeter and then 2.5, or maybe 1.3, something like that. It's not exactly in the middle. Let's do it at 1. Straight line down. And there's the bottom of the dart. Now, we're going to need to measure up for our armhole, 9.3. Let's see, 9.3. Something like that. And from that point, we measure 5 centimeters. Squaring it with the diagonal line, go this way, 5 centimeters. There's our guide. again, we want to make sure that this doesn't have a divot, so I'm just going to use the straight line here. That's going to be my end point. So let's see how we get this. Put our... let's see. Down lower, this way a little bit. Well, it's looking pretty good. Cool. Armhole! Hooray! Now, what else needs doing? We gotta shape this guy. Also, it tells me this thing again, 6.2. Alright. From here, we need 6.2. That's gonna land right here. For what? Maybe for ease or ruffling of the top of the shoulder, perhaps. That's going to be maybe important later when we're making the blouse itself. In the meantime, I'm going to try to do the same thing I did before, which is just go up, straight up. See what happens. There's no dart that we have to manipulate on this side, thank God. So, with that being said, we do know that from this guideline point for our armhole, the princess line in the back ends at a point 2.5 above this line. So we're going to put it at 2.5. Okay, so we do know that we're aiming with our curvature right there. So we're going to take our hip curve ruler. Let's see what we can do here. I mean, it looks relatively like it should. Let's use our pencil and see what it looks like first before we totally fuck it up. Okay.
Alright, and that just about wraps up our time today. Thank you for joining us each week and enjoying the music. Make sure to follow the show for updates on new episodes by searching Monster Cat Call the Wild on any of your favorite podcast apps. Let's end the show with some brand new Half an Orange. Here is Sunscreen. Until next time, later days.
What if I did this? It really does look like it's the center line and then like, oh come on now. God damn this thing. We're gonna do this better. Yeah, so I took the middle line and drew it all the way up. I measured a centimeter over and drew another perpendicular, or parallel line rather. And then we're going to figure out an acceptable guideline for this. Yeah. Barely gives me anything here. Let's go down 2.5. Just same as the dart from before. See what happens when we go across here. So curious. what this looks like. If I did it on the middle, I did it right here, which means this meets down here. Okay, it's not very. Erg. Moves over. I don't know. What I actually want to do is just use the curve of the hip curve myself here.
Because those lunches won't make themselves. Find everything from programmable slow cookers to pop-up toasters. And with free delivery plus easy in-store returns on brands like KitchenAid and Hamilton Beach, get appliances so smart, they'll practically make meals for you. Save
It needs to be curved.
on small appliances online at HomeDepot.com. More saving, more kinds of doing. U.S. only. Offer valid through September 8th. Limitations apply.
If I did it like that. Oh, that's such a mess. It makes me upset. And ideally, you would just want to use one stroke with the hip curve. And then somewhere down here, it's just going to be kind of curved.
We out here. Hey, this is Kizo, and you're listening to Call of the Wild. Phase 1 complete. Assembling family members.
Hey guys, this is Alex.
Why does this always flummox me so?
Listening to Call of the Wild.
Family assembled. We have liftoff.
I'm flummoxed.
Welcome to Call of the Wild. An exploration of sound with the latest electronic music. There's nothing to hold us back. These are the songs of the wild.
Maybe I should do this part first. Okay, well, what does this look like?
It's my birthday, and I'll do what I want to.
Really, Otomono sign?
Taking over Call of the Wild. Actually, you know what? I'm kicking out our entire social media team also. I'm in control now. It's birthday hype. Let's get right into this mix.
I wonder how accurate these diagrams are. I think I'm on the right track. Son of a bitch. Did I miss any of the chat, or is there just, nope, I did not. Good, okay. Oh my god, I know this is tedious, you guys. I am so sorry. Excuse me. Well. What if I did it in chunks? What if I only did it there? And then here. And that's closer. Basically, travels this way up to a point, and then it curves from here. Close enough. Alright. I think I need brain food. Well, I need some kind of food. So, I'm going to stop for now. We're going to go to intermission. And I will be back in about an hour. So, you'll get the notification when I come back online. I will be on Discord in the meantime, having my lunch and like looking at the Discord. If you want to talk to me there, ask me questions or clarify something, I will be there to answer your questions, should you have any. So for now, I will be back and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.